Hey guys, this video is on order of operations with fractions. It's going to correspond with days 5, 6, and 7 in your notes, and I'm just decided to do one video for all of those days. So let's get started. Pemdas is our little mnemonic that we learned to remind us about the order of operations. And it stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, and then addition and subtraction. Okay, so we get the letters P-E-M-D-A-S, and that spells PEMDAS, which is made up, but that's okay. So when we look at multiplication and division, those are on the same level in PEMDAS, so we work from left to right if we have both of those operations in a problem. Same with addition and subtraction. So let me go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what I mean. These problems are going to get increasingly more complex, but we'll start off with some easy ones. Okay, we have 1/4 plus 3/4 minus 1/2. So we'll work from left to right since we just have addition and subtraction in this problem. And we'll do the addition one first. 1/4 plus 3/4 is going to be 4/4. And then we subtract 1/2. And I bet you can see from looking at this problem that I could simplify that 4/4 to 1 and then subtract 1/2 and I'd get 1/2. But I'm going to work it the way I would want you to work a harder problem when you just don't know stuff right off the bat. So what we would need to do is find a common denominator. Since 4 is a multiple of 2, I can just find an equivalent fraction for 1/2 that equals 2/4. And of course, all I have to do is multiply it by 2 over 2. And it's going to equal 2/4. Oops. So let's do 4/4 minus 2/4. And of course I get 2/4. And if I simplify that, I get 1/2. Okay, let's try another one. And by the way, these problems are from all over in your notes, so if you're watching this at home, it'd be good if you go ahead and get a piece of notebook paper so that you can follow along with me and pause the video, figure it out on your own, and then start it back up again to make sure that you're correct. Okay, now we have 3/4 minus 1/2 plus 1/3. So, obviously, since this is an addition and subtraction problem, I'm going to need to find common denominators. So I think we'll go ahead and do that to start, okay? And I'm looking at 4 and 2 and 3, and I'm going to just think about, well, let's look at the smallest number there, and let's start listing off some multiples of 2. We've got 2, 4, 6. Now 6 would be a multiple of 3, but not of 4, so I'd be out of luck there. 8, then 10, then 12. 12 is a multiple of 3 and a multiple of 4. So I think we're good with that one. So let's rewrite our problem right here with what we're going to multiply each fraction by to make 12ths. So we have 3/4, and I'm going to multiply that by 3 over 3. And then I'm going to write the rest of my problem minus 1/2 times 6 over 6 plus 1/3 times 4 over 4. Okay, now let's change all those fractions and find the equivalent fractions, and then we'll start adding and subtracting. So 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 9/12 minus 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. So 9/12 minus 6/12 plus 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, now I'm ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to subtract first. 9 minus 6 is 3. So I have 3/12 right here, and I still have to add that 4/12. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish that off. And my answer is 7/12. All right, let's try something that has some multiplication. Okay, when we have multiplication and division problems only, we just work from left to right. And so that's what we're going to do here. Now, when we have multiplication problems, we can cross-cancel, and we can cross-cancel anywhere in that problem as long as we're choosing one numerator and one denominator. So I'm looking at this problem, and I can see that I have a 3 here and a 6 here, so I can cross-cancel those. And then it looks like I'm done. I can't cross-cancel anywhere else. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. I'm going to multiply 1 times 1, and that's just 1. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 5. and I'm going to get 5 in my numerator. Now I'm going to multiply 1 times 2, and that's 2. And now I'm going to multiply it by the other 2, and I'm going to get 4. So I have 5/4, and I'm going to need to simplify that. So if I look at this fraction, I know I bet you can look at that and just see that it's going to be 1 1/4, but I just want to show you why. We can pull out 1 whole. And then if we pull out 1 whole and put it in terms of fourths, we're going to have 1/4 left. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that into a mixed number, and we get 1 1/4. Oops. Okay, let's try a division problem now. So now we have division, and we've got 2 division problems, don't we? Hopefully you'll remember that when we are solving division problems, our algorithm has a nickname called copy.flip. And I did a video for this, so if you're struggling with that at all, just go back one, I think, and you can view that. So how do we copy.flip when we have a problem like this where we have 3 fractions? Well, let's just take a look. Let's just break it down. If we look at this and look at solving this from left to right, 4/9 is going to be our first fraction, right? So we're just going to copy that down. And then we have divided by 4/1. Okay, so we're going to replace that division sign with a multiplication sign. And then we're going to flip that second fraction, 1/4. Okay, great. So now I have 4/9 times 1/4. Now I've got another division problem there, don't I? So let's just leave that be for now. We're just going to keep that division problem, and we're going to deal with it in a second. So we'll just solve this guy first. So 1 times 4 is 4, and then 9 times 4 is 36. So I've got 4/36, and now I've got it divided by 3/5. Okay, so I'm still going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to change division to multiplication, and then I'm going to flip the second fraction. So looking at this, it looks kind of hard. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify here. I can simplify 4/36 into 1/9. And now this looks like a lot more friendly of a problem. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 5, which is 5, and 9 times 3, which is 27. And that can't be simplified any further because 5 is a prime number. So how about this one? We've got a multiplication and a division problem. So, I'm just going to use a little logic here. Because of the way multiplication works, where, you can multiply really in any order. It's just like addition in that way. So I'm going to write down my first problem, and then I'm just going to go ahead and change that second problem by using our division algorithm. So I've got my first fraction right here, right, which is 3/4, and then I'm changing my division sign to multiplication, and I'm going to flip that second fraction. And now I have 2/5 times 3/4 times 2/1. So now I can go through and I can cross cancel, and I'm going to put a 2 here, and I'm going to put a 1 here. And I'm going to see that I can actually cross cancel those 2's now, or I can divide both by 2 and put 1 there. And now I'm left with 1 times 3 times 1 in the numerator. So actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. I have 1/5 times 3 times 1. So 1 times 3 is 3, times 1 is still 3. 5 times 1 is 5, times 1 is still 5. So I'm left with 3/5. All right, now let's try one where division comes first. So now I have 9/10. I'm going to copy, divided by 3/5. So I'm going to change my division sign to a dot or multiplication sign, times 5/3. And then I'm just going to go ahead and write that second problem times 2/3. And check this out. Now I can cross cancel because I've got a 5 up here and a 10 down here. So I'll change that to a 2 and that to a 1. I just divided both by 5. And now I'm going to cross cancel my 9 and my 3. I'm going to divide both by 3. And whoa, I'm still going. I can cross cancel these 3's, divide both by 3. And check this out. I can divide both of these 2's by 1. And look at that. All I have left are 1's. And 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 in the numerator. And 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 in the denominator, which equals 1. You wouldn't want to leave it as 1 over 1, because that would be an unsimplified fraction. So you'd want to change that to 1. Okay, now let's try one where we have to think about what operation comes first. So this problem has both division and addition in it. According to Pemdas, division and multiplication come higher up in the order of operations. So we need to start with them. So what we're going to do is we're going to do these division problems first. So let's work from left to right and do 4 over 1. So that I copy that first one, and then I change division to multiplication, and then I flip the second fraction. So I get 5 over 2. And then let's write the second problem, 5 over 1, flip my division to multiplication, times 8 over 5. We're going to do these two multiplication problems first before we add them together, because order of operations. So let's work on this one first. Let's see, we've got 4 over 1 times 5 over 2. So I can cross cancel here. And now I have 2 times 5 and 1 times 1. So 2 times 5 is 10, and 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so that's my first multiplication problem. Now my second one looks like I can cross cancel here, and I have 1 times 8, which is 8, and 1 times 1, which is 1. Okay, now it looks like I just have 10 plus 8, which equals 18. Okay, now we're going to talk about problems with parentheses. So this problem has subtraction and division. However, it also has a set of parentheses around it, doesn't it? When you have parentheses, you're going to start with whatever's in the parentheses first. The parentheses are there to tell you to do that part of the problem first, okay? So in this case, we're going to solve in the parentheses, and then we're going to solve the division problem. So we've got subtraction, and we've got two different denominators. So we're going to need to change those to the same denominator. So let's do this. I'm going to work over here, and then just work on changing these. So if I've got 4/5 and 1/2, looks to me like I'm going to need to change these to tenths. Okay, so I'm going to have 8 tenths as an equivalent fraction to 4/5, and I'm going to have 5 tenths as an equivalent fraction to 1/2. Okay, let's go ahead and rewrite our problem. Now we've got 8 tenths minus 5 tenths divided by 4 over 1. So 8 minus 5 is 3 tenths, and then I have the divided, or to divide 4 over 1. Okay, so now we're going to do the division problem, and I'm going to rewrite that with copy dot flip. Okay, I've got my problem written down, so I'm ready to multiply. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 10 times 4 is 40, and I end up with 3/40. I can't simplify that because 3 is a prime, and it sure doesn't go into 40. So we're going to put a box around it, and we're going to put a weird box around it, but you know, whatever. There we go, and call that good. Okay, so hopefully this helps you. If you have any more questions about order of operations, then make sure you come ask.